Hello, everyone. It's Charlton. Please subscribe to my channel. Tap the notification bell. I'd appreciate it majorly. So I'm here to talk about JJ, Vallow, and Tylee Ryan, who remain missing. And Lori Vallow has been ordered to appear in court tomorrow. Is the day she's supposed to appear in Rexburg, Idaho, or in Madison County. I don't know where the county seat is, the courthouse for that. And we'll see whether or not she shows up. I mean, that'll be a pretty significant event, fairly. And but a number of different things could happen. But mostly, I just want to talk about their time in Hawaii and some of the gaps that exist. Based on a couple different reports. Mostly one from the East Idaho News, Nate Eaton, who talked to one of the neighbors in the community where they're staying, where I believe, it says there that they signed a long-term rental agreement for one of the properties that's near or a few doors down from the neighbor that they spoke to, who's also a real estate agent. And he's named in there and pictured, and they spoke to him a decent amount. And then there's another individual who is the manager of Kauai Beach Resort, and that's the same place where they were pulled over in the parking lot. Their car was searched and then taken into custody. The car, the SUV that they have, and they were served very, and I guess a search warrant was executed, and they were given court papers either in that visit or the day before on Saturday, when I believe a search warrant was executed on the property where they're staying in Princeville, Hawaii. They've Lori Vallow and Charles Vallow, who allegedly was shot and killed by Alex Cox, her brother, lived in Princeville, Hawaii for a few years, starting in late 2014 all the way into 2016. I think mid to late 2016, before returning to Arizona. And actually, in another report, which I don't have up here, but I know I saw it reported somewhere, that the month or so, or the 2.5 month span where she went missing herself, Lori Vallow, during the time when supposedly she abandoned JJ and Charles Vallow when he was filing paperwork for divorce around January or February of 2019 in Arizona. During that time, supposedly that's where she went. She went to Hawaii. I mean, that's where, which I think, if that's true, definitely could play into, to something. And I'm not necessarily getting into my theory. I've already sort of laid that out. Although, things are so outlandish that the theories I've come up with of basically persons staging events to fake their death, possibly, and each death not necessarily being the same, and that maybe this is about life insurance and collecting on large life insurance policies. I just don't want to relitigate that right now. But the fact that Lori Vallow could have been in Hawaii, Princeville, Hawaii, during the time when this seemed to be all getting started, in terms of laying the groundwork, the filing the paperwork for the divorce, meeting with attorneys, even though in the end they were dismissed by Charles. He withdrew them himself and remained married to her so that she was his estranged wife. During that time, in the very beginning, in the early stages of all of this, Lori Vallow reportedly might have been in Hawaii doing what? I don't know. Setting, I don't know. We have no idea. Anyways. So the timeline here, let me just sort of reference a couple of the reports where this is the real estate agent that lives a few doors down from the place where they're staying. And basically, Nate Eaton spoke with him, and he told him about the first week of December, there were some boxes left on their porch, talking about Lori and Chad Daybell. About the first week of December, there were some boxes left on their porch, and I believe they were from Idaho, Latham recalls. I called the realtor that had the listing, and he told me to put them inside. A few days after that, I saw them pull up, and I went over and introduced myself. Their names were Chad and Lori. The couple was polite but seemed guarded, according to Latham. They didn't open up or share anything about their personal lives, but thanked their new neighbor for bringing in their packages. The unit was for sale and had been vacant for some time. The Daybells did not buy the home, Latham said, but signed a contract as long-term tenants. Many homes in the community are used for vacation rentals, but Chad and Lori had more permanent plans. Latham says they bought furniture and had moved it in. But then they vanished. I don't think I ever saw them at the pool or anything like that. The house seemed vacant most of the time. I didn't see lights on or anything like that, he says. I hardly ever saw them at all, and I never saw them with anybody else. So I don't know if they were living there or not. Okay, and that's the extent of it. Until like January, when he had a conversation with them quickly 2 days before, they were pulled over in the parking lot of the Kauai Beach Resort. But one thing I just realized, even reading that for like the third or fourth, fifth time, is that the boxes were from Idaho. So possibly mailed by themselves to themselves. Which, again, I don't know. I mean, part of why I put this timeline together is because this is like the first week of December where he runs into them. He sees the packages on the porch, and calls the realtor, and the realtor tells him to put them inside. I guess, because many realtors, you just give you the access code to the lockbox or whatever to get into the unit, or the realtor just gives you the access code to get into the unit, and he brings the boxes in there. But then a couple days later, he actually, spoke with them as they were there outside the unit. But then they vanished for the most part, and he never sees them there barely at all. The lights are never on, and doesn't report seeing them until basically the 24th of January, 2 days before the incident on Sunday where they're pulled over in the parking lot of the Kauai Beach Resort. So, I mean, basically two things. One of them is occurring to me right now as I'm making this video, and the other I've sort of focused on already, which is these gaps between when this man sees them there, come to the home, they move in furniture, but they're almost never there. So where are they staying besides that home? At the other property, the Kauai Beach Resort, besides the fact that they were pulled over on Sunday on the 26th, and their car searched and then the car taken into custody, and then they stayed there that night, and now they're staying at another hotel the day after that, according to Nate Eaton from East Idaho News, or a couple of his colleagues that remain there. He had to take a flight back to Idaho. About 3 weeks before this, they had stayed there for 2 days as well at the Kauai Beach Resort. And the manager apparently was keeping tabs on them, and the Post Register spoke to that person. That's where that information comes from. But I'm going to go reference that right now and read it just so you have it, and you hear it for yourselves. But my question is, where were they staying in between these times? And is there another property on the island, or even on a neighboring island, that could be easily accessed by boat, or who knows? I just, that is set up for them to live at as well. It's basically you have multiple residences so that you have backup plans in the event that you're discovered, at any one of them, or one of them, or, who knows? But I mean, basically, if they're not in this home, but they've brought furniture to live there, they've moved it in, the lights are never on, they're never there, where are they? So that's what I'm saying. But this is, this is about the Kauai Beach Resort and the manager who, says he remembered them staying there for a couple days, basically around the 5th of January. I think I just went 3 weeks from the 26th to get to the 5th. I think that's because he said 3 weeks ago in this report here. Over the weekend, the couple was approached twice by law enforcement. On Saturday, they were served a court order demanding that Lori Vallow physically that Lori Vallow physically produced Tylee and JJ to the Idaho Department of Welfare in Rexburg, Idaho, or to Rexburg Police within 5 days of being served with the order. They were approached again on Sunday in a parking lot of Kauai Beach Resort. Robert Minicola, the general manager of the resort, confirmed to the Post-Register that Daybell and Vallow had stayed there earlier this month. According to Minicola, the pair stayed there previously approximately 3 weeks ago for 1 to 2 days. I've been working with detectives for several weeks, Minicola said. The couple recently booked another stay at Kauai Beach Resort for Sunday. According to Minicola, on Sunday, authorities were lying in wait for Daybell and Vallow near the resort, while Minicola confirmed that he has been working with police for several weeks. He said he could not say whether he was the one who tipped police off that they would be staying there again that day. The couple are not staying at the Kauai Beach Resort at this time. What's the date of this? This is the 27th, which would be the day after Sunday. Sally Kritzig, Post-Register. And, they are staying at a different hotel resort. A couple of Nate's crew tracked them down and spotted them, coming out of the room. And they have suitcases with them, apparently, like they're ready to travel, I think. I'll read that very quickly before I go back to my timeline. Last night, and this is just 20 hours ago, so this is the 28th, the day after the Post-Register report. Last night, we received a solid tip that Chad and Lori Daybell had left the Kauai Beach Resort and checked into another hotel on the island with several suitcases. Their reservation was for one night. I had to catch a flight back to Idaho. This is Nate Eaton. But some of our colleagues went to the resort. I just got this message from them. We got a short clip of Chad and Lori walking to the parking lot with a couple of day bags, no luggage, like they were going to the beach for the day. They spun around, though, and went back into the hotel lobby when they saw us. We stuck around until after checkout, and they never reemerged. Lori has 2 days to comply with the court order and have JJ and Tylee in Rexburg. We'll see if she shows up at the airport or returns to Idaho. And I looked for that clip. They haven't posted it, but I'm sure they do have it. It's probably just real quick, brief of them entering the lobby or whatever with small sort of shoulder bags or book bag kind of things, ready to go to the beach, looking like they're ready to go to the beach. I don't know. But again, not to belabor the point, is, where are they in these other times where they're not seen staying in this home where it seems like they established residence? They had packages mailed to there, it looks like, from Idaho, possibly from themselves to themselves. And, did they have that place set up in advance? No, because they signed a rental agreement recently. So, but where were they staying, during these other times? That's my question. In terms of going over this top portion of the timeline, I mean, everyone knows about it. 9/23, September 23rd was the last time JJ, I think just JJ, was seen in school in Rexburg at Kennedy Elementary. And that's a month before Tammy Daybell died on October 19th. She was buried 3 days later in Springville, Utah. She was basically had to be transported there to be buried in that Springville Evergreen Cemetery, where Chad Daybell used to work when he was in college. She worked herself for the Parks Department, basically the other cemetery in Springville, Utah, entering burial records and something like that. So, I mean, the fact that Lori Vallow and the two kids moved to Idaho, set up residence there a month or so before Tammy Daybell died. I suspect the two of them knew each other. I mean, it's just a hunch. I don't think that's been reported anywhere. But I don't know. that's pretty much the extent of what I wanted to. I mean, one of the things is like I think JJ and Tylee are alive. I have a strong belief, very strong belief that they are. You know, and JJ is 17. You know, she's of legal driving age. In fact, in the body cam, she talks about how she drove all the way from Texas to, you know, I think from Houston back to Arizona, Chandler, Arizona, after I think helping Charles Vallow move there to Houston. But she could be, you know, I mean, basically, if they are still alive, who's watching them right now? She could be just taking care of JJ, and she's just the, you know, the person who's serving as the adult and watching them doesn't necessarily need other adults watching them. But I don't know. It's just a question I had. You know, another thing quickly I'm glad I didn't forget before I close this out is, you know, Tammy Daybell, her body was exhumed on December 11th, and Alex Cox, you know, died the very next day, you know, and we still don't know the circumstances of his death. We don't know if he was murdered, if it was some kind of natural causes, if it was suicide or some kind of drug overdose, or who knows? We just have no idea. But, you know, in terms of like this theory that most people seem to be getting behind, which I am not at all, that Lori Vallow's this black widow and that she's killing these husbands off, you know, for whatever reason. You know, I guess the reason would be financial in nature. But she's in Hawaii during this time, unless they're going back and forth from Hawaii to, you know, the mainland in between these dates here of the first week of December, you know, January 5th, an approximate date, 1 to 2 days staying at the Kauai Beach Resort, and, you know, the 25th and 26th being served court papers and search warrants executed. Alex Cox, you know, he died in Gilbert, Arizona. I mean, so if as the theory goes, she's the Black Widow and she's behind all these deaths, and Alex, you know, was murdered at the end to kind of just tie up loose ends. She wasn't there, you know. So, and I never have really gone with that. I do think this is about life insurance, and I don't even know. I've tried to make this video several times. I didn't want to go over my various theories, but I do think that I don't know how they could pull this off. I really don't. I do think that maybe at least one of these deaths was faked, so that somebody is still alive. That you know, authorities once thought initially was dead. And I don't know how you would come up with a body double. I really don't. My other thought was that it was persons that were, or one or some of them, you know, I suspected Tammy was sick and terminally ill, and they knew this, and they were just trying to still get paid on the life insurance, you know, because normally you can't get a life insurance policy if you know ahead of time that you're terminally ill. I mean, what insurance companies would do that? But that was what I suspected in her case, but I don't know. I really don't know. I think I'm in the ballpark, though. I do, and I definitely think that this couple is getting help from people with a very deep, vast knowledge of the legal system. You know, and I don't know, you know, if that's a network of people. It's probably people with a fair amount of wealth or resources. Political connections, probably. I don't know, you know, but the way they conduct themselves, particularly in those searches that just happened on Sunday, how they seem fairly unafraid, given all the circumstances bearing down on them. Most individuals would be quite unnerved by that, and unless you have some major backing, somebody basically, and had thought this out very carefully in advance, and know all the legal ramifications of everything you've done and what you're facing going forward, you know. And so I just think they're getting some serious help, both financially and you know, legal, very good legal advice, and not some local attorney in Rexburg, Idaho. No way, no how. And that's That's pretty much the story there. I will say there's one other thing that supposedly it was reported in multiple media outlets that family members of Tammy Daybell had been shown an autopsy report, of Tammy Daybell the same day that they served these like executed these search warrants on the 25th and 26th over the weekend on Saturday and Sunday. But the Rexburg Police Department has disputed that over and over and have said that that's not true and that the results of the autopsy for Tammy Daybell still have not been completed, and so I don't know though. And that's the story there, man. That is the story there. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below. I will see you in the next video. Later, man.